How do you craft amazing bebop lines over a minor blues so that you sound like a jazz pro? I'm gonna walk you through the perfect minor blues solo coming right up. So I'm gonna show you this incredible minor bebop jazz solo, and then I'm gonna walk you through what makes it so awesome and how you can apply these concepts in your own playing today. Super awesome solo, and shout out to our in-house composer, Keelan Dimmick, who composes for our Minor Blues Accelerator course in our Inner Circle membership. So let's go ahead and jump right into this solo here. Let's start out right here over this D minor. And I think it's important that we look and see what's actually the chords in a D minor blues. So we have D minor 7 for one bar, E minor 7 flat 5, A7 to D minor 7. That's a 2-5-1. And then we go 2-5-2-4, right? 'Cause that's what the blues is all about. It's about that 1-4-5 relationship. So to the G minor, and then back 2-5 to the 1 chord, the D minor. Then we do this B minor 7 flat 5. Right, that's our 6th chord, and then 2-5-1. So what makes this so awesome? So the first line goes like this. Okay, really awesome. Now essentially the note that I really want you to pay attention to is this one. Okay, and that is the C sharp note that's in there. Right? The C sharp is basically coming out of the melodic minor scale. That's the C sharp. Okay, and so that's very common, by the way, in jazz improv, and even technically if you harmonize, for example, the melodic minor scale with 7th chords, the D minor 7 is actually the D minor major 7 for the 1 chord. So like this. So very common to make your minor 1 chords hip by adding the major 7th in there, right? So, right, super great sounding when we do that, adds a lot of color, a lot of interest, right? So turn around back to the C. Then what makes this really cool is basically we start kind of copying what we did before, but moving it somewhere else. So we go, right? So again, we're hitting that C sharp. Now, what makes this super bebop-y is what's about to happen right here. We're gonna go chromatically approach into that 2-5-0-4. So we're going, right now, we chromatically approached the A natural over the A minor 7 flat 5. So chromatically approaching to get to that root note. Basically the root note is a target note. Now, this is what makes it truly bebop right here. Basically, we want to look at this F sharp. The F sharp is the 3rd of the D7, the 5 that's going to the 4. So what we're going to do is an enclosure like this. Right, that's starting at that G note, then we go E natural, then we go F, then we go F sharp. That's our 3rd. So this is what we call a chromatic enclosure. Our target note is that 3rd, but we're going above in pitch, below, and then chromatically approaching to the 3rd. So above in pitch, below, diatonically, chromatically, arriving at our 3rd. And so basically, anytime you want to make your solos sound super bebop-y, try to add what we call these enclosure patterns using target notes like the 3rds, like the 7ths, important chord tones to really draw out that sound. This is what Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie, all the guys are doing. So if you're doing it too, you're gonna sound a lot more like them. Now, another thing that's really classic about this line here is after the enclosure, we hit this E flat note over the D7. Now the E flat is the flat 9. So it goes, right? So that's so classic. Right? Really, really, really bebop. bebop-y, really outlines that D7, making it a flat 9. So adding more tension with altered extensions is also a really, really good idea. Again, we have an enclosure over top of this G minor 7. So it went, right? So chromatically walking down, below, above, arriving at the G. So below with the F sharp, and then above with this A natural, and then arriving at the G. So always, always, always think about enclosure patterns and how you can arrive at target notes. Now we're doing more enclosure patterns here when we go to the E minor 7 flat 5, A7, back to the 1 chord, right? Transitioning from the 4 to the 1. So we have, okay, so our target note is A natural over the A7. So we're going B flat, G sharp to A, right? So that's, again, an enclosure pattern, above, below, arriving. And then above, below, arriving at this E natural over the D minor 7. Now the E natural is the 9th. So again, now we're actually not targeting just chord tones, we're targeting extensions, right? So really hip, but still an enclosure, above, below with the C sharp, arriving at the E. Now that is simply just walking down a D minor arpeggio. Okay, now I love this part right here because this is quintessential bebop rhythm, and this is over top of the B minor 7 flat 5. We went. So the triplet there, triplet with 2 8th notes. We're gonna see those triplet patterns again coming up in a second, but this is something that happens a lot in bebop, adding these triplety lines in there. So that's also something to consider when building out your solos as well. Let's move on because we're gonna hit those triplets right now with the E minor 7 flat 5. This is the last 2-5-1 ending off the solo here. So we go. Okay, this is like Charlie Parker wrote this himself. Right, so the triplet, and basically it's chromatically walking up to this G note. Right now the G, again, that's the 3rd of the E minor 7 flat 5. So the 3rd is our target note. And then our target note is E natural over top of the A, that's the 5, right? So we're always thinking about target notes. So chromatically walking up, and then we step down to the 5th of the A7. Now, honestly, we're basically walking down using different notes from a harmonic minor scale. So it's like you're playing a D harmonic minor. So that's a little lesson for you, is that if you want to outline sort of some of the flat 9 sounds of the A7, you could play a harmonic minor of the chord that you're targeting, the chord you're resolving to from the 5. So in this case, A7 to D minor 7, you could play D harmonic minor, right? But of course, this is much more musical. Now, I love this line at the end. Again, we're using enclosure patterns, but we're targeting this B natural. That's another note from the melodic minor scale. Okay, that's the sound right there. So basically we're superimposing a D minor 6 over top there. So when we target the 6 or the major 7th on the minor 1 chords, it really sounds cool, really sounds hip, right? So we have, again, enclosure patterns there. But using that minor 6 color tone as our target note. Ends again with an enclosure pattern. We go B flat, G sharp, A, right? So we're targeting the 5th. And then we just played an octave up higher, right? So the 3 takeaways that I really want you to consider here is enclosure patterns, targeting chord tones, but also targeting extensions, and playing melodic minor ideas as well as adding those triplet rhythms in is gonna give you great bebop sounding minor solos. Now I talked about those enclosure patterns, and I have a video up on the screen right now that really focuses hard on that. It's called How to Play Instant Bebop, and it really talks about those enclosure patterns a little bit further. So if you need a little more help with that, definitely click that video right now and watch that next one. It's really gonna help. All right, make sure you like this video if you found it valuable. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next video. Cheers.